Welcome to Home's Room. Just like Homeroom, we start off our day getting together with our homies, swapping stories, even a little kiss and tell action. This podcast contains language not suitable for younger listeners, topics about sex and mental health. Discretion is advised. Our views are our own. Let class begin.
Ooh, this is Halloween. Those some spooky noises for you off the tip. Just trying to make everybody laugh.
Matt, I did not expect that at all. Holy shit!
Had to hit everybody with a different starting because it's Halloween. This is the first episode of our Halloween.
Setting the tone, Matt. Let's go.
Trying. Super excited doing Halloween episodes. When I started a podcast, I didn't think about holidays and all of those things. As you can tell, as most of them don't line up with any holidays. Also, just so we're aware, it is actually the 3rd of July when we're recording this. So if you hear fireworks and random banging noises, that isn't the ghost in my background. That is just fireworks outside. How are you,
Matt?
Caitlin?
I'm doing so well. I have a teething 8-month-old who finally cut one of his front teeth, and now he's cutting the other front tooth. So if you hear a kid crying in the background, it's kind of on brand for the pod for us to keep it real. And I will absolutely echo your sentiments about fireworks. They have been nonstop since Friday. I'm recording this on a Monday. This is we're in 4th of July Eve on July 3rd, like Matt said, and I love Missouri. I love Jefferson County where I live. We're a bunch of fucking Hoosiers though, Matt.
Yeah, man. As soon as I sat down, it was like quiet and I was like, oh, that's nice. And then as soon as you jumped on, it was like, pat, 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 pat. It's like, oh, sorry for your eardrums just now if I just got you with that. I didn't think about how that would come across in a microphone. But no, yeah. So Halloween, super fun. One of my favorite times. We have a 12-foot skeleton that sits out front of our house all year round. So there's that. I live with the spooky bitch. So like there's that.
Skelly Big.
Skelly Big, yeah, Skelly Big. We love Halloween, so I'm super excited to do these. We got some fun episodes planned, some ghosty stories and stuff. But on brand, I didn't want to just do a Halloween episode and have it be scary, have it be ghost stories. I wanted to put it to context, to something personal, to something learning. So I had some prompts, asked Caitlin, like, hey, what are some things that scared you about your past, or some things that scared you about your present, or some things that scare you about your future? And we're going to talk about those. And I think that is spinning the Halloween theme into something educational and something that like maybe you guys will relate to. I don't know. But yeah. So are you excited about this?
Of course I am, Matt. We both vibe so hard on the spooky season. And I know this is July. I do not leave air conditioning in Missouri in the summer. I hate summer just because of the humidity alone. So it's like instead of Christmas July, it's Halloween in July. So I like it a lot. We're doing it. I wanted to show you though, on brand for our Halloween episode. My first question when you said you wanted to do special Halloween episodes was, can I dress up? You said, sure, I don't care. It's fine. So here is the final piece to my Halloween costume. It is a beret. I've actually never worn one before. I have no clue what the hell I'm doing. I am embracing the tortured artist. That's what I dressed up as today.
I love it. I love it. It fits. And I love that it goes with your background so well.
Oh, also, I put red LED lights on just to set the tone. Spooky.
I love it. Did you go buy that pink beret like specifically for this?
Not specifically for this. I actually had a friend, Kim, crack a joke about, we're tortured artists, we should buy a beret. And I, ADHD moment, legitimately pulled up Amazon and ordered a pink beret. But it's super on brand with some of my personal struggles right now because I'm learning, Matt, I don't know if you knew this, but creativity is very difficult to tap into 100% of the time. And it's like a muscle that you have to work out and flex. So I've been in a little bit of a creative block. I'm a tortured artist. I need to produce art and be creative to be the best version of myself. So I'm hoping this kind of rocks me out of the creative block that I've been in. And of course, I have the Barbie studs from Hair Candy by Hand. Shout out.
I was peeping those earlier, and I was like, I'm feeling those, especially with like the what are the sleeves on that called? What is that called?
Uh,
I can't remember what they're called.
Mesh.
It's like,
I don't know.
yeah, the mesh like poofy sleeves. Like I was like, I feel this vibe. I feel this vibe.
It's Barbie. I love it. Spooky Barbie.
So this is one of those moments of like, you guys in podcast land will hear me say this and it won't mean anything to you, but Caitlin in real time after this episode will get information. But I wrote down a note because I want to tell you about an episode that I am trying to get put together with Spencer or Kinsey as a creative thing that I think you'll get a kick out of, and I hope everybody out there get a kick out of. But moving right along, I'm not dressed up. 4th of July is one of my favorite holidays because as a Black man in America, regardless of when my people were freed, I'm free as much as I can be now, and I want to enjoy every bit of the freedom because people fought, died, and lost way more than I could ever imagine for me to be free, for me to have a podcast. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like those are those things that like I just love. So I usually wear Captain America shirt and like whatever American-ish things that I have. Like today I'm wearing my Chris Kyle shirt. But like I think that it's important to remember, even though we have not gone as far as we need to go on this road, we have still gone further because of those in front of us, and it is naive to not pay credit to that. So there's that. Back to Halloween, because 4th of July is not the holiday we're talking about. I got some scary stories, and when I say scary stories, I don't mean they're actually necessarily scary, just true ghost stories that I've seen growing up and, just doing things. I have had stuff attached to me as long as I can remember. Earliest memories, I can point out shadow people. I can point out, times where something happened that I could not explain. And as I got older, I decided I'm not going to be afraid of it. I'm just going to research it and find out what it is, what it means, what it could be. And my dad saw stuff when he was younger till probably now. I assume he doesn't talk about it much anymore, but it's just a lineage thing. My kids see it. Courtney didn't necessarily see a ton until she started dating me, and then she started having way more experiences. So like I said, things have attached to me my entire life. So first story is not actually my story per se. I just was in the hallway when it happened, but one of my aunts had like called my sister, cursed her out. It was a big deal. It was crazy. And we were walking down a hallway, and this hallway was maybe like ADA wide, like literally like the 3 feet it needs to be across. And that was it. There was not much more room than like, you couldn't fit 2 people down this hallway. So one side of the hallway was like, yeah, sorry, Mom, you're going to get put on blast here, I guess, for being the old woman you are. But just pictures of family members all down this wall, like from start to finish. And it was a long hallway. So it was like, like my mom said, she's one of 12 kids. So all the way down this hallway, the whole way is just like cousins and aunts and uncles and like siblings. It was ridiculous. Before we got to the end of the hall where that aunt's picture was, my sister stopped, said something, and then went to go take another step. Before she took that step, the picture flew across the hallway, smacked into the other wall, like the adjacent wall, put a ding in the wall, hit the ground, fell out of the frame. And when we picked the picture up, because we thought she did it, and she turned around at us like, I didn't do that, because she wasn't near it. It was the aunt that had just called and cursed her out. It was her picture that hit that other wall. And we were like, well, whoever's attached to us didn't like that phone call, apparently. So I said,
So it
not
was
scary.
the aunt that was still alive that had just had a interesting, creative discussion of a phone call is what I call them.
Yep.
So who do you think that was? Or what do you think that was?
Like I said, short answer, there are at least 4 things that have followed us most of our lives. Me, my sisters have all seen the same thing, so it could have been any one of them. However, there is a little boy that has been attached to me since I can as young as I can remember. And I assume it was him only because it was a childish thing to do. But I don't know that any of the other ones like specifically would have been like that would have been their thing. But also my sister has her own experiences, so it could have been something that I've never seen that's been attached to her. So, but like I said, that one was crazy. And to follow that one up, this one is one of those like somebody else had to corroborate the story, and I'm really glad that there was somebody else to do that. So, are you ready for this one?
Of course.
Right.
Well, okay. Before you jump into it, let me paint some context. I was very interested when Matt wanted to have this share some ghosty stories for the Halloween episode, because I will say I'm a little bit of a skeptic. I've never really had too many like paranormal. I think I've had one in my entire life that I can say was very odd and peculiar. And if I ever had one, it was that, which I'll share next up. But I'm very much a skeptic. I don't like believe in any of it necessarily. I've never had things attached to me. So I have lots of questions already before you jump into the next prompt, if that's okay, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you say attached to you, what does that mean? And what was your earliest memory of something like this, or like a shadow person that you saw, or something paranormal like that happening to you?
Yeah. So attached, I don't have like a definition per se, but basically it's an energy or spirit that either wants something for you, feels something towards you, like you remind them. Like a lot of people say they get attached because you remind them of somebody that they loved when they were alive, or they see something in you. Whether it's something they want, whether it's something they want to protect, is up for debate. But as far as like the things that have been attached to me, like I said, there's a little boy, and I've seen him, like I said, almost all my life, as far back as I can, almost remember. And like Courtney's seen him too now. My mom's seen him. It's always been kind of a thing. There's a Victorian woman is what me and my sisters call her. My oldest daughter, sees her. So that one's becoming more like relevant again, where it hasn't been. And then there's an older dude, and the next story rolls into a story about the older dude. And then there's another thing that thing is a little bit darker. I don't know. It doesn't hold one shape. It does different things. I think it is solely here to like try and scare the shit out of me, make me be fearful. I don't give it much like power, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, to scare me, because I like at the end of the day, that's what it wants. So that if I continue to feed into that, it's just going to get worse. So I try to limit the like the feelings towards that one. But yeah, so as far as like attachment goes, that's kind of like how the attachments are, I guess. When an attachment is, kind of depends on the person in the case. But my earliest memory of something happening, we lived in Maryland, is where I grew up. We had a house with a basement that was like an apartment, so it was like like an in-law suite, I guess is what I'll call it. And I remember going downstairs to see if my aunt was down there. And I remember saying, I think I called her name maybe, and I heard something move. So I thought for sure like that was her. And she was just like getting coffee in the morning, whatever it was. And I remember walking around the corner, and the bowl that was sitting on the counter was wobbling. And I was like, oh, maybe she just like went around the corner. And then I went to go find her, wasn't there. And as I came back around the corner, she was coming down the stairs behind me. So she wasn't down there. Nobody else was down there. She's the only, it was, I don't know, maybe like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning, whatever time little kids wake up when they're 5, don't have to go to school. And that was, then I didn't know what the hell it was. But now, like when I look back at it, it's like, obviously that was something in the context of what it was. But that was like my earliest memory if I had to like say one.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm gonna have an open mind when you get into this next story. I'm just gonna follow along with the journey and see where it takes us.
Good. This is one that excites me because, like I said, you gotta have to have a good, like, sit with you right ghost story. You got to have somebody else that witnessed the same thing, or somebody else that like could corroborate the story. When you're just like, oh, I was sitting in a room by myself and something moved, like, who? Okay, did you fart really like strongly? Like what? Like I don't know what you want me to do with that information. But we were sitting around. We had a sectional, an L-shaped sectional. I was sitting in a love seat on the opposite side because I was sitting on a love seat. So there was a lamp across the room, and I was, we were just, I think it was me, my sister, her boyfriend at the time, and my mom, my other sister, and possibly somebody else, but I can't remember if there was somebody else there or not. But for sure, it was like that core group of people, and that is the most important part of this. So sitting there, we were having a conversation, and I stopped talking because I saw the flicker of a thing, and this is daytime, not nighttime. I saw the flicker of something over the lamp, and for a split second, I thought I saw like the shape of a head, but just like above the lamp. And I was like, that was weird. And I kind of scanned the room to see if anybody else saw whatever I saw, and nobody kind of reacted. It just kind of like was. And then I looked back at the lamp, and the thing that I saw that I thought looked like a head was in fact a head. And like at that moment, it rolls forward almost, magic 8-ball-y, where it comes down and like you see your answer, and scans the room, looks left to right, and full face. Like I vividly detectable know what it looks like. And I reacted. At the same time I react, my sister's boyfriend reacts. And I looked at him, and he said, "Did you see that too?" And I was like, "Yes." "What did you see?" And then he said, a face, right? And I said, "Yeah." And my mom, my sisters were like, "Whatever, you two are just trying to like get over on us. You're trying to just scare us." And it was like, nah, man, like I know what I saw. I don't know what he saw, but I know what I saw. And I'm not trying to I'm not trying to be in trouble and stuck in my room for the rest of the day for telling a stupid ghost story. Like, no, I know what I saw. This is what it was. So my middle sister said, "Well, why don't you guys draw what you said or what you saw?" And my oldest sister was like, "Yeah, why don't you go to separate rooms so you can't talk?" We come back with and I was probably like 9 or 10 maybe. So we come back with a good artist, because he was a good artist version, and a 9 or 10-year-old version of the same face. And
Okay.
I have since seen that same person probably a dozen times since then.
Okay.
That was the first time that I distinctly remember seeing that guy's face. But yeah, just an average old Caucasian male. He's got, a little bit of hair on the side of his head. He kind of looks sad, I guess, but not sad in a way like he's sad, just sad like I assume he knows that he's not here anymore, and he just kind of is like existing, I guess. He's got a little bit of a mustache potentially, but it's hard to tell. It could just be like wrinkly skin, or was wrinkly skin. Like I have specifically seen this dude in detail enough times that's probably the only one that'll scare the shit out of me because he likes to do dumb shit like that. So we'll get into another fun story. And this one, I was scared like a little kid in that one, but that's for another episode. What are your opinions on that one?
First of all, you gave me the goosebumps. Will validate that. I think it's also, I agree with you, gives you a little extra layer of validity if somebody else experienced the exact same thing and hopefully was validating for you in that moment that you weren't completely losing it.
Yeah.
So what kind of like vibes or like energy do you get from that thing in particular? Like that person is trying to like scare you?
No, realistically, I don't think he's trying to scare. I think he just does it. Like to him, like you ever seen Haunted Mansion with Eddie Murphy?
Yeah.
So like he was the like teacher in Clueless and all that. Like I can't think of what that actor's name is. He's got like kind of a high pitched like nasally voice. I can't think of what that actor's name is, but he kind of embodies what that guy was in Haunted Mansion, where he just like appears through shit, and he's actually kind of funny, but he just is this ghost that doesn't realize, oh hey, I'm popping up in a weird spot, oh hey, I'm doing something creepy. Like he's just trying to appear or just trying to be in the room, and that's just how it happens. It doesn't mean to scare you, but it just is.
Wallace Shawn.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, yeah, absolutely. I was
ADHD.
I knew you were looking it up. Yeah.
ADHD be ADHD in, Yeah. Wallace Shawn. He was also in, hold on, I'm pulling up his IMDb. He was in The Incredibles. He's in The Princess Bride. He was the debate teacher in Clueless, and he also was some voice character in Monsters, Inc.
Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff. I like that guy. But
he's Rex in Toy Story.
Yes,
everybody's gonna know that.
Yes, correct. So yeah, like it just gives me vibes like just a person, just like anybody else, just walking in a room. Like it doesn't feel negative, doesn't feel positive. Like it just is a thing, I guess. That's not, like I said, most of the Victorian woman, the little boy, and like that guy, usually, like with the exception of the little boy, usually don't like they're what you would call like residual energy, where they just kind of like are here, not necessarily like doing anything. They're not like actively trying to like harm you or scare you or anything. They just do this thing. Sometimes those will be stuck on a loop. Sometimes they act out things that they've done before. Like they just appear. They just do whatever they do, and then usually they like go away just as fleetingly. But yeah. So that's that one.
Okay.
Anything else?
Very weirded out, and like, Matt, I'm gonna be pissed if something attaches to me while we're recording this episode. I don't know if that's possible through my iPad. I don't really know how any of this works. But I'm gonna be pissed.
There's a modern wave of like horror movies where stuff is doing that, and like they use computers to push the horror, because like that's what everybody's using. And I think that's funny now. Like they had to go from like Ouija boards to like Ouija boards. It's funny. But yeah, I think that, for me, I used to, like I said, I did research and stuff like that. One of my favorite classes in school was myth, fantasy, and folklore. And one of the projects we had was we had to go look up a story from some other country and write a report on it. So it had to be some sort of myth, something, paranormal, whatever it was that was in the realm of that class, but from another country. And one that I did was two little girls in Australia who summoned something. It left like a shoe footprint-ish thing in their carpet and a handprint on their windowsill, and their families had to move from the homes that they were currently occupying because it attached itself to them. And that was a crazy story to do a report on, because like how do you write a book report on that? You know what I mean? Like, how do you write a like school level, writing class thing for a story? Like that was fun. That was a good.
Holy cow.
Yeah. See, told you, Halloween, boom. And that wasn't fireworks. That was me.
I might be in the mood to watch like a horror movie. The
Good.
only horror movie I ever watched in theaters was one of the Paranormal Activity movies. And back in the day when those were coming out, I was like super brainwashed, inundated into the church. So I just was real fearful of the devil, and I thought that Jesus was going to judge me. But like extra layer of horror.
Yeah. See, good. I think, I don't know. Some of the stuff that they do with those, they get right. Some of it they get wrong, but I enjoy it. And, like I always tell people, if you want to go on haunted tours, you want to go do all these things. It's like, that's fun. But like for me, I grew up seeing stuff. So like, I'm good. I don't necessarily need to go like seek it out. This is why it's always comical to me that my house backs up to a cemetery, because this is the first house I've ever lived in that I have the least amount of activity that I've ever had. And I assume it's because of the cemetery. And they're like, nah, fuck that. I don't want to be here. I get out of here. This reminds me of being dead. I don't want this. So, but yeah. Growing up in like a original 13 colony, shadow people were huge in that area, because it's just like, otherworldly things, and how much history and how old everything is there specifically, and how much of that was like, first contact stuff for settlers and for indigenous, and like I said, everything there just hits weirder, that sort of thing. Not to tell another story, but we got lost in Sleepy Hollow, New York once. That was pretty friggin' terrible. It was so funny because it was a family vacation with like all of my mom's family. So there's a bunch of people, cars, all that stuff. And we were like lost in Sleepy Hollow, and it was just like a creepy like tree at like one of those like only see it in movies where like the trees grow in a tunnel kind of thing. Like one of those that we had to drive down and then turn around and come back the other. It was crazy, but oh yeah, life's fun when you grow up on the East Coast, I guess. But yeah, so that's our ghost stories for this one.
I don't want to put this out there in the universe, Matt, but I'm kind of like, I would appreciate if maybe like one small happy minor thing. Like I don't need a whole ass shadow person attaching me, but I feel like I would maybe understand a little bit more if I had some kind of experience similar to yours. I don't know. Maybe I need to go on like a ghost hunt or something.
Do it. Like I said, I think like it's fun if you don't see stuff, but it's when you have seen stuff to like knowingly put yourself in that thing. And like I'm one of those like I am an empath. I consider myself an empath, and anybody that like scoffs at that kind of stuff, ask the countless people who I've reached out to in moments where they needed somebody to reach out to them. Caitlin raises her hand.
That's been me. And it was literally like a week after you were like, yeah, I have this weird thing where like I can just sense kind of when people maybe need like encouragement, or like they'll pop in my head and I'm like, I think I needed to just reach out. Weird. I was having a really hard moment, and instantly like I was like 5 minutes into like a spiral. I could feel it starting, and my phone dings, and it's Matt. Hey friend, thinking about you. Hope you're doing okay. I'm like, okay, yep. Weird intuition.
Yeah. So it's a thing. So like I'm weird like that. I can't go into hospital waiting rooms. Hospital waiting rooms, there's so much energy in that room that like it like overwhelms me, and I feel like I got like 10-ton bricks on me. I don't like elevators for the same reason. Elevators, like when I get off of an elevator, there's so much, especially elevators specifically in hospitals for sure, because there's just so much energy stored in them of like anxious, that like I get off and I feel like I've just like as if the elevator moved so quickly my body didn't adjust kind of thing, or like I was on an amusement park ride, and I could go like a floor or two. So yeah, no, empath. Crazy things have happened to me. So yeah, that's like I said, that's our stories for this one. Hopefully I get you to come back for the next one and hear my those are two of my like my introductory stories when I'm not sure how well ghost stories will be received, those are the two I go to first, because one has both have like other people were there to have seen it, and nobody was able or even in the area to have made something happen. Just was. But moving on to like our prompts for this one. So like I said, we had prompts of like, something that scares you in that you're afraid of in life, something from your past. An example is like something you couldn't beat, or something that would come back and get you later on. The present, like obviously something in life that is presently like a fear, or is something you're afraid of, and then something in the future, like what could happen, and then something fun. So like something as a kid that like just scared the crap out of you, that like it could be silly, it could be like whatever, like the basement was just like, oh, I don't want to go past that door because it's the basement. So but I've been talking for a while, so how about you go first with your something from your past that is
Okay, so something that scares me about my past is who people that I pissed off in prior versions of myself. I was not the kindest person in high school, and I also was going through a bunch of shit in college. And I know with therapy, treatment, medication, I was dealing with a lot of like trauma, and didn't have healthy coping mechanisms. I'm fearful that like, I live in my hometown, that I pretty close to it, that I grew up in. And I'm terrified that I'm going to run into somebody from my past, and they're going to still think that that's who I am. Part of the human experience. I definitely still have a lot of learning and growing to do. I'm proud of the fact that I'm not that person anymore. And I'm scared that somebody has their mind made up about me, and that is it, and I'm written off. It's the pot calling the kettle black, because I have a really bad habit of doing that myself. I'm big on trust and respect until somebody gives me a reason not to, and then my trust is very difficult to earn back. So there is some hypocrisy involved in this fear for sure. But that's why I really try hard to give people from my past the benefit of the doubt. There's been a couple people that have like come up in conversation with my sister, who also like lives in the area, and oh, remember when so-and-so did that in high school, or when so-and-so tried to start a fight with me in chemistry one day. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not who I was in high school, and I'm not that past version of myself. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and hope that they're not the same way too. Yeah, that's like the biggest immediate thing that came back, is just who I was in the past. I won't ever be able to get away from.
I love that. I gave you the like heart hands, because that is exactly what mine is.
Stop it.
Yeah, and we don't share notes when we do these. No. We keep them to ourselves, so that like that's a genuine reaction when we hear them. So I gave you the heart hands because my past is, I fear I haven't grown as much as I hope I have. And like that, maybe I am still that person. Maybe I'm not. Maybe, I could have done better even sooner, or, basically echoing everything that you just said. But my fear is that like there's still so much to grow that I see now. Like, how bad was that then? And how many things could I have done better then that I didn't even realize I was doing then, So like, yeah, I echo all of that. And, like I said, I love that our lists when we do these are always so like similar. It's wild. It blows my mind, because like I instantly was like, oh my God, that's mine. So moving on to present, and because like we are going back and forth, it works out that I didn't have to really read mine or go into mine, because you captioned it perfectly. Not being like wanted, not necessarily a feeling of like not being enough, because I feel that I am enough. I feel like I'm more than enough in a lot of cases, but even with that no one actually cares. And that's like something that scares me constantly, where I have to step back from my own life and just look at it and be like, no, all right, like I'm good. I am, yeah, I got people that are showing up for me. I have to look at like the smallest crumb to build like the big cookie. So I understand that. Nah, dude, don't go there. Just simply because like that is, I think, the thing that scares me the most, like currently.
I feel that. I feel like the most sane people can relate to. I don't know if it's that fear of abandonment, but I think everybody wants to be loved and appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
I think I definitely can relate to that. Okay, my present, motherhood.
Yeah.
Motherhood scares the shit out of me. I'm so terrified that my kids are going to grow up and be assholes. And you know, it scares me more that it's this fun thing in parenthood where like as soon as you figure them out, or like as soon as you figure out like the foods they want to eat, or like you figure out the bedtime routine, or you figure out this, that, everything changes like literally the next day. Like, do you hear them in the background now screaming?
I can't, and it's always so funny because I don't hear them in the moment, but then when I go to like listen back to the episode, I can, and it's so weird to me because I literally cannot hear them at all right now.
Well, note for editing, Matt, now is probably when you're going to hear Wesley screaming because he is not very happy. But yeah, it's a fun thing where it's like it literally, as soon as you get things figured out, everything changes, and like, especially with two, Wesley is so different than my daughter was at this age. Comparison between the two kids, obviously we try to stay away from. But like my toddler, like perfect example. We were in Target yesterday, and it constantly amazes me. Like the words that she knows, the compassion she shows for other human beings at almost 2 years old. There was a kid a couple aisles over from us, a baby, that was screaming and like throwing a fit. So shout out to that mom. Been there, done that. But she heard the baby crying and she looked at me and she said, "Oh no, mama, baby." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Well, do you want to go find the baby and see if they're okay?" And she said, "Yeah." So we drove by, I rolled her by the other baby, and she was like, "Oh no, baby." And she just like waved hi at it. I'm like, okay, don't lose that, kid. Like,
yeah,
yeah, motherhood scares the shit out of me, and that's kind of the biggest thing. Other thing that scares the shit out of me right now is just the journey of a creative portrait artist.
Yeah. I think that from the stories that you've told me, I think that you're doing the best you can. And newsflash for every parent out there, that's all any of us can do is the best we can. It's not like, yes, there are people who have written parenting books. No, those parenting books do not apply to your child. Your child is different than their child, and your experience and their experience are different. Your traumas and their traumas are vastly different. So nobody has a blueprint. The only thing that you can do is, in my opinion, as a parent, and if I was going to give you advice, is to realize what your parents did well and improve upon that. And no matter what that experience was, whether the only thing good your parent did is they gave you like a nudge on the shoulder, well then, like, man, instead of giving you a nudge on the shoulder, I'm going to give my kid a hug, and you're already doing better. So like just find those things that were good and try and hold on to those. I think you're doing good. So keep that up.
Thanks, Matt. We're like brothers at war in the trenches of parenthood, dude.
Yeah,
shit's wild.
I had the stabby one was being stupid in the store. I think that was today. And I don't usually have to like grab her up or anything. She's usually pretty good, but like she's being stupid. She wasn't listening to the older one, and I had to like lean down and give her one of those like, "Stop it," And she looked at me super scared because she doesn't ever get that, especially in the store, because I usually don't have to. But it was like, man, you're gonna find out real quick in these streets, man. That's not how you want to be. But what's your what that was our present, right? Yeah. So what is your future fear?
A lot of this, long story short, too long didn't read, regrets, like living in the future, thinking back in 20, 30 years, if I'm lucky to live that long, and just having regrets. It's 100% a trauma response, just because my parents died unexpectedly. I know in my heart of hearts that they died with regrets. They never went on that trip. They waited to have a conversation with a loved one to tell them how much they meant to them. Yeah, I think that's my big thing. Just, and then trying to also balance between living in the moment and also like my too much gene popping out. Like every time I see my friends, I probably don't have to have like a heart to heart of how much I love them and how much they mean to me. But I do know that if something happens to me, that the ones that I loved will know how much they meant to me, just because this is, something that I try to put into practice. I don't want somebody to right, wrong, and different. If you're on my shit list, you're going to know it. But I don't want something to happen to me and somebody not know how I felt about them, mostly positive. But, I got a couple that know how I really feel.
I love that. Also, I don't know if you ever noticed, like my head will drop and I'll just be like, because on my computer, like your screen is to the right and like you're looking into your camera because you're talking, and I'm just looking at your screen, like, just like so lovingly, like, oh man, like I'm hanging on every word you're saying, because like legitimately I love that. And don't ever feel bad about telling your friends, having a heart to heart. Like one of the things that like I want people, when I'm not here anymore, regardless of how that happens, is I want people to be like, that was a down motherfucker. Like that guy was here for me. Like I love that guy because I know that dude would have been like the first person to be like, oh, yo, good job. Yo, man, do you know how fucking awesome you are? So like, don't ever sell yourself short on that. Be that person. Be right there with me, because we'll both be like, yo, that was the realest person that ever lived.
I just had this awful mental picture of your wife Courtney and I like meeting at your funeral. Like, man, rip to a real one. Matt was a down motherfucker.
I love it.
Shout out Courtney.
Yeah. So, what's funny is I told her, like, it sounds really bad, but like, make a fucking scene at my funeral. If people show up that I wasn't cool with, kick them the fuck out. Do not let them come in, because you ain't celebrating me, because I'm a real motherfucker, and I don't want people to think that they could just be like, oh, he's not here, I could come say what's up. No, fuck that. You out. Anyway.
We're off the rails a little bit here, Matt. I did not expect us to be.
It's good. That's the point of a podcast. I'll get us back on because it's my future fear. Super simple. Losing myself.
More. Tell us more.
Yeah. I fought really hard to be where I am. I fought really hard to have accomplished the things that I have accomplished, and super relevant to the conversation that me and you had prior to starting the record, and losing people, and having to navigate all those kind of things, and people trying to convince you of things that you might not actually be. That sucks. And by starting this podcast, I'm getting better about like reaching out to people who I don't know to be like, hey, I love what you do. You want to come on and have a conversation about it? Walking up to people in a parking lot and being like, yo, I love your food truck. Come do an interview, all those kinds of things. And I used to be a whole different person, and I've grown and I've changed and this and that. But at my core, I feel like I've always been who I've always been. And I don't want to lose that. And I don't want life or struggle or success or any of those things to come along and have me losing myself, because I feel like I've already had those moments. I've already had setbacks and like setbacks of self, I guess is what I'll say. And that is something I don't want to have looked back on and been like, damn, I don't recognize myself in the mirror anymore.
Damn. Ouch, that's heavy.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think something like that happens gradually and sneaks up on you, or is it like a ease in, like I don't know. I'm thinking like when you're having that moment of like looking in the mirror, I don't recognize myself. That's not a quick process to where you're like coming to that revelation, you know?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a quick process. I think it's something slow. And I think that's kind of the point, is just like one of the things that I always like kind of equate it to is like, if I see somebody every day for 2 years and their body changes, they just look normal to me. And then if I were to step away from that person for the same amount of time and not see them and then see them, they're going to look totally different. So it's kind of like that, where like, some things may happen and it's like you separated yourself so far from that you change and didn't even notice it. And some things can happen and it's like, man, I like seem so drastically different. I remember when this used to be the thing that I cared about, or this used to be the thing that I drove towards, and now I don't. And like one of the things specifically I can like comment on right now is chasing money. And I've always taken jobs because I choose to work the job because it's something that means something to me, or I see a validity to it. And the position that I'm currently in is the first job I ever took because it was financially like the choice, and I gave it a shot and I hated it immediately. And that was like tiny chips of myself away constantly. And I don't want that to be something I repeat in the future.
That's a valid fear. Let me just go ahead and validate for you. That's awful. Because then once you like realize that you're at that point, it's really difficult to deprogram to get back to a place where you recognize yourself. Speaking from personal experience.
Yeah. And I think that this podcast has helped me find that thing in me again, where like, I'm not afraid to talk to people. I'm not afraid to go there. I'm not afraid to, like reach out and and I champion that. I say all the time, reach out to us, comment, say something, if you liked what we said, or if you have a differing opinion, like be social, be brave, come and say something. It doesn't have to be an argument. We're open to any conversation. Just be respectful. But no, yeah. So moving to the light note, which is why I put future as the last one, not because it chronologically made sense, but because I knew a fun thing at the end would be better for us to slide along. So a fun thing that, I shouldn't say a fun thing, but like a silly thing that I was afraid of as a kid and still kind of am, just not as bad. And why? Eyes. So like legit, like posters, magazines. Like if I walk past a window that was open, I just like there was eyes looking at me all the time. I couldn't do it. So like I couldn't go into my my sister's room because she was a teenager in the 90s who had nothing but posters all over every inch of her room. So it's just like a box of eyes staring at me. I couldn't do it. If there was a magazine sitting somewhere, I used to have to flip it over because I couldn't take the person on the cover of the magazine looking at me because I felt like they were staring into my soul. Yeah, it was kind of like a silly thing. And I think it comes from like seeing shadow people, seeing all that stuff and not knowing how to explain it, but also just a like silly like kid fear where like somebody probably told me, oh, that person's looking at you. Their eyes are following you everywhere you go. And then it just in my head equated to that. So yeah, sometimes I still do like turn a magazine over when I feel like the person is like looking at me and I feel uncomfortable. So like if I'm sitting in like, like a, whatever, I'm trying to think of a good example, but like, a waiting room somewhere, like I was in the treasurer's office renewing my car the other day. Like if there's a magazine there and it's an awkward situation, I might flip that magazine over just because I don't feel comfortable with it still. So
I've literally never heard anyone have that before. That is a first. That is a new one. So thank you for that, Matt.
You're welcome. I loved your silent judgment while I was telling that story. I appreciate it so
silent
much.
judgment. I'm just here trying to be supportive.
So moving along, what's yours? You got one?
Yes, I vividly remember in kindergarten, sinks. We had not like the regular, not like an open like kitchen sink, but like the graded sink drain.
Yeah.
To where when water drips through it, it looks like a fisheye. Have you ever seen that before, or am I just absolutely nuts?
I have seen that. I know what you're talking about.
Sink drains. When I was in kindergarten, they freaked me out, and I didn't like them because I always thought that there were fish in there staring at me. Absolutely insane. 100% not feasible. Doesn't make any sense. But to a kindergartner, when it looks like some eyeballs out of a sink drain are staring at you, gets a little freaky.
Hold on, wait. You were just giving me crap a second ago about eyeballs that are physical eyeballs on a piece of paper, and now you're over here saying eyeballs that could or could not be eyeballs in a sink drain.
In sink drains, it's kind of like snakes coming out of a toilet.
Yeah,
like the same energy, same vibe.
Which is more feasible, which is kind of funny. But I like that, and I personally think that again, somehow we come to the same conclusion about like a silly kid fear. Maybe there's something to like eyeballs looking at you as a kid that just like scares you. I don't know. I like it. That was fun. That was a good one. I have never heard the sink looking like eyeballs. So you have returned my favor to you. And I love it. So yeah,
self high five, good.
Yeah, exactly. So we got some Instagram answers. So these were really, really good. There's not a lot of them. So like next time I do this, like actually answer, because we want to hear what you guys got to say. So like keep that up. We love it. So one of the first ones is that like a fear in life is uncertainty. And I was like, damn, that's a good one. I like that. Wasted opportunities. It's like, yep.
Oh God, that goes in hand in hand with like my future one of regrets.
Yeah,
this
I like
sucks.
That one. Doing it wrong. That was another one. So like, I assume like that just means like life in general. Developing dementia, like my grandma, and forgetting that the people I love the most. And it's like, damn, that one's like, whoa. Barn burner, like goddamn.
Seriously, yeah. Yep. That and like Alzheimer's, like the degenerative diseases and stuff like that. Oh God,
yeah, that one definitely hit me with some like, damn, way to give me nightmares. Where I like now I'm gonna freaking think about that. So good job on you. But one of the last ones, which I think equates to, you know, what you said, is potentially messing up my kid. And I think that that one is one that any parent fears. You kind of got to do what you can do and then let the rest go. And
observation, though, I feel like it's like our generation of parents maybe that have this fear, I would guess, more than like our parents or grandparents had. Just because we're doing the exhaustive work of deprogramming like generational trauma and healing our shit so we don't pass it along to our kids, that like, you know, I have friends whose parents like gaslight them and they're like, oh, well, you're just ungrateful. I did the best that I could with what we had at the time. Like, oh, so sorry that I'm such a terrible mother, this, that, whatever. I think the fact that that is a concern that you have is a good indicator that it's maybe not as big of an issue as you fear it would be. You know, I think, yeah, it's part of adulthood that when our kids are raising kids of their own, they're going to be like, I didn't necessarily like that my parents did this, so I'm not going to do it with my kids. Matt, do you do something like that with your kids? Because I know I sure the hell do, you know?
I had to do that yesterday or 2 days ago.
Exactly. So I have a guess, like gut instinct that like our generation or like younger parents maybe feel this at a higher level of stress or like anxiety than maybe our parents or grandparents did.
I would agree with that. I think
I could be off. I could be totally off base, but
well, like you said in a previous episode, you know, like we are the generation that is trying to like heal itself and trying not to create the same mistakes of our parents and their parents, and it's hard. And there's a lot of self-reflection, especially when society is telling you to be divisive towards somebody that has a different view than you, because none of us actually know the answers. Everybody's just trying to do the best that they can with what they got. So yeah. And speaking of what they got, do you got That's What She Said?
yes, I do, Matt. And you know how these are turning into like cheerleading pep talks for myself because I need it.
Yeah.
Definitely on brand for the Halloween episode. My That's What She Said this week is based around fear. I was a thespian in high school, which means I was a theater nerd. And every single play or musical before every show, we would all have a circle where we'd cross arms, and we all had this like speech thing that the seniors would lead and everybody else would repeat after. And part of it was essentially like a little like theater tradition pep talk. Definitely on brand to be talking about theater today as a tortured artist. Oh, I just realized that. But part of that little like pep talk was fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that leads to total oblivion. And I will face my fear. I will allow my fear to pass over me, around me, and through me. And shout out, because I didn't really actually think that I remembered that much of it, but there's definitely some parts that I've forgotten. But right now, I am fearful of putting myself out there in the form of starting my own podcast. I was actually today supposed to launch one, and I didn't because I'm fucking scared. I'm scared, Matt. I need to, and I hope that whatever it is that you are fearful of, whether it's something that we talked about earlier in today's episode, whether it's something that came to your mind while we were sharing about our fears, that you allow that fear to pass over you, around you, and through you. Because fear, that little line of the speech that I just remembered, fear is the mind killer. It is absolutely talking about wasted opportunities, looking back in your life and living with regrets. Fear will cause all of that to come to fruition. Yes, it's Halloween. Yes, it's October. Yes, we love spooky seasons and shadow peoples. And maybe Matt has some things that are going to attach themselves to me after recording this episode. But there is so much good that comes from embracing vulnerability and telling that fear to shut the hell up and just doing it anyways. So face your fear. Do not be a little bitch. And again, this is me talking to me. So especially in October when I'm rewatching this episode when it comes out, stop being a little bitch. But also, when you tamp down that fear and embrace vulnerability and put yourself out there or do whatever it is that is holding you back from being fearful, more fireworks. Yes, I live close to St. Louis, but those are actually fireworks, not gunfire. So, tell your fear to shut the hell up because you have big things to take care of. You have big things to accomplish, and that fear is getting in your way. And that's what she said, Matt.
I love it. I hope that you hear that back and you're like miles. I'm like,
yeah, I did stop being a little bitch. Good job,
exactly.
Caitlin.
Yeah, I love it. That's what I want. That's what I hope. I hope that like the whole time I was like, man, I wonder where this is going, and then where it went, and I was like, yes, absolutely, 100%. Like, yes. You know, fear is the killer of more dreams than trying ever has been. So I love it. Keep doing that. I am super proud of how far you've come just in general. So like, I can't imagine like when this episode is out, like I hope that you're so far like beyond this that it's like, man, I can't believe I was so afraid of that at that time. Like, that's crazy.
Me too, Matt. We'll just see how it goes.
But yeah, and with that, that was another episode. Hopefully you come back and you hear some more scary stories before we start. And, we'll hear hopefully some interviews with some people telling some scary stories, because it is October after all. And I think it's wild that where we're recording right now, we're scheduled so far out that we're talking about Halloween and it's literally the 4th of July. I think that is, I'm super proud of it. But more importantly, I'm super proud to have somebody like you along for this ride and helping me out, because believe it or not, you're doing a great job.
You are too, Matt. You are the driving force behind all of this. And whether it's you and I just having a fun conversation together, or hopefully the end goal of our listeners walking away feeling better after they tune into an episode of Holmes Room, whatever you're doing, there's good coming out of it. And I hope that you're not fearful. And if you are, stop being a little bitch.
Yeah. You said I'm going to end on this, and I hope that you laugh so I can end on your laugh. But I may be the driving force, but if I'm driving us off a cliff, you're in the passenger seat. So let's go.
I'm down. Let's go.
Bye.
The bell is about to ring. If you want to drop us a voice message or simply ask a question, you can do that by clicking the link in the show notes below. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review. It helps more people find us. Theme music by Kinsey. More music available on Spotify. Remember, every day is a class. Go learn something.